discussing about IOC containers, right? And we learned how to create POSO classes, either it's a controller or service, DAO, util or config, any class, and we understand how to config this in XML file and how to load it into IOC. In 3 steps, we did that. First, we have implemented a class. You all implemented classes and you shared with me, right? You all implemented POSO classes and given with me. So once after POSO classes, what I did, I went to XML file, added your classes into bean tag. Thereafter, I have written one main method class. Under that main method class, I have created my IOC container object and loaded XML file. As soon as I load my XML file, what it did, it created all the classes objects, and that too not a plain objects. It created singleton objects. It created singleton objects and very powerful, right? IOC is very powerful because though you have though you have private members also, it is able to accessing it. So your private constructors also it can able to access. In case if you feel that you want to protect your classes from other classes, like somebody one is creating unknowingly, one junior joined, he is creating my service object with new keyword in controller or DO object in service, I want to restrict him. So as a lead, I want to put a rule to everyone, please keep your constructors private. IOC doesn't care whether you have private or public, so keep all your constructors private so that at least others not able to access directly. You know, right? With private constructor, if you create any class, others cannot able to access that class. With the new keyword, they can't able to access it. So somehow you can protect your op- classes from creating direct objects. Okay. So keeping private constructor is not a big deal or not a bad practice even. You can put private constructors, no worries. So keeping private constructor also not a bad idea. So at least it will protect your code from others, whoever is trying to creating with new keyword. Sometimes it may happen, right? So all may not have the knowledge properly. So they might create your classes objects with new keyword. That's a bad practice. Loading. Yeah. If we see from our example, we created car, employee, company, user, test. Yeah, here is not even this. I was okay. So these all are classes. We configured them into Spring XML file. And if you see this class, it is having private constructor. So if somebody who is working on car, if they try to create bank object directly, they can't create it. So it won't allow them to create your object. So directly can't create it. In case if this class need that object, there is other way to get that. So you may ask a question, if I don't get that object, how they will connect? Controller need to connect with service need to connect with DAO, DAO need to connect with database. How it is possible? Or if service wants to talk with util, or these configurations if you are using inside DAO, how all this possible? How they can connect if They don't create objects. So first thing, object itself we are not creating. That responsibility we given to container only. Whatever classes you write, controllers you say, or DAO, services, utilities, whatever you say, you have to configure all your classes first into XML file. You have to configure them here. Thereafter, you should load it into your IOC container. You need to load them into your IOC container. As soon as you load, it will create all the objects. All singleton objects, not even prototypes. It is created singleton objects, means only one time. You request for it or somebody request for it, as I mentioned in the example, right? I have an order controller. I'm ordering milk, somebody ordering pen, book, groceries. Let it be thousands of customers request your application. But backend your order object is singleton object. It will not occupy much memory. As soon as it will take less memory, your server is free with a lot of space, so that will be utilized to process your request instead of eating a lot of memory with a lot of objects. Singleton objects we use most of the times. So objects are created by container. Then when they want to connect each other, how they will connect? That connection also will established by your IOC only. Till now we talked about how to create objects. Creation of objects is not a big deal. When you implement an application, right? When you implement an application, you need to connect them together. Let me implement one application. I'm not going to use Spring here. Just to see one servlet application. You people may aware or may not aware. Don't think much about it. I'm creating one web application, dynamic web project. This is not part of our content, but I want to show you one end-to-end application. Okay, guys? One web application I'm creating, a pure servlet application, not even related to your Spring topic. But let's see if I use servlet without any MVC and all. Run doing Tomcat I need Apache Tomcat. Finish. So I'm just creating one web project. One simple use case I'm implementing here, because before going to to make you understand why controllers are required, service or DAO, why all these classes are required. Do we really use them in real time? Let us see one example with the servlets. Till now we understand we have to create poser classes and we have to configure in XML and we should load it into IOC container. IOC is creating objects. Just I'm going one step before and showing you one servlet application here with one end-to-end use case. I'll be creating one simple front end for registration. I'll take your name, email, address, phone number. Okay. I'll ask everyone to enter your data. Okay. Please be ready. So one front end I'll create, and back end side I'll be writing one servlet. Servlet is your controller. Servlet and one service class, DAO class. So this is not at all required you to learn, but just see how I can implement end-to-end application with the servlets concept. I'm not using any Spring here. So I have a table here. something students table. Student Spring Boot microservices. In this table, I want to save this data. Name, email address, phone number data here. Okay, for that purpose, I will use MySQL. One database I will be using here. Create database. Students DB. Create table. Student Spring Boot microservice ID int auto increment name varchar 200 email varchar of 200 address varchar of 200 and phone. When I ask you to enter data, don't enter junk data. Please enter valid data. Okay. No database selected. Okay. Use database students DB. Wrong command. Yeah. Incorrect table definition ID named. There can be only one auto. It must be defined as a key, primary key. Okay, we want it primary key. Table created. Now your ID is primary key automatically incremented. See the message it is saying. There is only one key only. There is only one column. For that column only auto increment I will apply. So that column name it is saying auto increment. Just a minute, guys. Hello? Yeah, yeah. Right. So cool. So table is created finally. In this table I want to save the data. As of now, no data. Okay, no data here. I'll ask you everyone to insert. To take inputs from you, I am preparing a web application. I created a dynamic web project. Okay, let's rename it Student Management System. Now I'm creating one input page here. New index.html. I'll be creating one form. Front end form I'm designing here, registration. And which all fields I want to send: name, email, address, and phone number. Input type text, key equal to name. Second field email. Third field text area. Ten rows, 10 columns. Address box required. Okay, 20 rows or 10 columns, like that you can take. Name is equal to address. And phone number. Input type text box. Name equal to phone number. And finally, these four fields need to be submitted using submit button. Value register. As soon as you click here, that data should be submitted to backend. So let me write one controller in the backend here. I'll be writing complete MVC code. I'll be putting like this: com dot any application, right? Usually it will start with com and their organization name and their application name and the actual package name, web package. So here I'll be writing controller class. I'll be writing a class registration controller extends HTTP servlet. Override do get or do post method. If you take method here post, here you will override do post method. So what you should do here, just you need to read your data. String name is equal to request dot get parameter. Same key, whatever key you have used here for your text field, name, email, address, phone, same keys you should use in this double quotes. So that value will be given to you. When you submit your request, straight away that request will come here. Email, address, phone number. I got the data. Okay, what next? From here I want to send that data to next layer, which is service. So I need one more class. Though you have business logic or not, let's maintain one more layer, service. There actually you need to do your business operations. For registration, what business I have? Nothing. Registration business. So it's a simple class. Here you accept request, public int, create student, string name, string email, string address I'm getting, and string phone number. What next it need to do? This business need to transfer that request to DAO. So you need one more class here. Package DAO. Here you will be doing database operations. Student DAO, public int, save operation. String name, string email, string address, and string phone number. Here you need to implement your database logic. So you know how to implement it. Class dot for name, right? All this stuff you need to write. What I will do, I want to maintain single connection only. Every time I don't want to create. So I'll put connection reference in class level. And during constructor execution, I will create that object. Class dot for name. What is that? Oracle class name. To connect with database, I need Oracle jar file. So I should add it here. Add external jars. Okay, MySQL, right? We choose MySQL connector. So copy this MySQL connector and keep it into library. So I need MySQL code here. Class dot for name. Let me refer. I have some config server here. There I have code. Okay, so this is the MySQL driver. I'll put it here. Okay, driver is available. After loading driver, you need to get connection. Connection equal to driver manager dot get connection URL username password. Username password is root and root only, and the URL is something like this. And we are using student schema. Just now we created one schema, right? Student schema. Check student DB. That's it. So connection is created. Just use that connection. Connection dot create statement. I am creating a statement object. Statement dot execute update. Insert query you need to write here. Insert into table name. Student underscore Spring Boot Microservices. Student MBBS. SBMS. Values. So you just need to give name, email address, phone number, ID automatically it is generating. So give name, email, address, comma, phone. Who knows JDBC? For them it is self-explanatory, right? Need not to explain much. So your query will execute and it will insert your record. Finally, I want to return the ID generated for him. So statement dot execute query select max of ID from this table. So whatever ID created for him, right? That ID it will return. Result set rs. If rs dot next, I'll be getting ID here. Int ID. ID is equal to result set dot next get int. So finally, I'll return that ID here. Okay, that's it. Database operation completed. Record inserted, and whatever ID is generated, that ID also getting and returned to him. Who should call out this DAO? DAO should be called as per architecture, right? DAO should called in MVC generally. DAO should be called from service. Service should pass data to DAO. And controller should call the service. This is the order. So DAO complete implementation is ready, but it should call from business. So you need DAO object here. DAO is equal to new DAO. Student DAO. As you all want to access, right? So you can see how many objects it is creating. As I said, singleton objects is the recommended, right? So I am following similar architecture. When you all requested, you can see how many objects it is creating. Even this constructor also, I'll put one SOP statements to make sure you how many business objects created. Now container is not creating, I am creating it on instance level, not in the method level. Instance level, only registration business object creation time, this object also will be created. So now DAO object is ready. What I can do, I can call DAO dot save method. Same name, email address, phone I can send. It will return the ID which is created. I can return the same ID back. Now same registration business object I should be calling in controller. So here business object you need to create, and this one you can use here, registration business dot create student. Pass same name, email address, phone number which you are reading from front end. So this is front end read. Get data from front end, your controller. Now from controller to we are sending data to business. So here you are reading data from controller. Business get data from controller class. Business will get from controller, and same way DAO. DAO also getting data here, right? Name, email address data we are reading. That data coming, DAO get data from business. So if you see information is coming from front end to controller first, controller reading it, immediately controller sending from there to business, business is sending it from business to DAO. So that is how information is passing from front end to back end, front end to up to database. So finally I got ID here. That ID I want to return to student, whoever is registered. As soon as you registered, it will generate one ID for you. I'll be sending that ID to you. How to send? Response dot get writer dot print. So it will send response. One response I'm sending. I don't think there is a font tag. Is there any font tag? I'm not sure. Any font tag? No, right? Font, no. P I will use paragraph tag. In P I want to apply color. I need to use style attribute. Style is equal to. I'm not sure. Okay. Leave about it. Finally, you will get your ID. Color may apply or may not apply. So your application is end to end ready. One more connection is missed. This registration action need to map to your controller servlet in this web.xml file. You need to do servlet mapping. Front end to back end mapping also important here. URL pattern slash registration. When somebody call, I want to call my registration servlet. Where do you have this registration servlet? You need to keep it here. Servlet name with your servlet class. Com dot rbu dot student management system dot web dot our controller name is registration control. That's it. So now end-to-end mapping is done. Let's run it. And if there are any exceptions, I can't see. Mostly exceptions I may get from database. Let me print them. Otherwise, we don't have any proof if something fails. Okay. Now how to run? You have already server here. Tomcat we added. It will run on that Tomcat server. Run on server Tomcat 9. Okay. So port number 8080 is already used. Let me change port number. Okay. Your application is started. Oh, big address box. Five rows may be enough. 15 columns. Okay. Let me open it in full browser. So I can enter data here. Let me start with one. Uh, Manohar. Some junk data I'm inserting. Register. So the data went to backend and you got a error. Backend student DO object created, business object created, class not found. Com dot mysql cj driver not found. You have your driver dependency here. Com dot mysql dot jdbc. Okay, now it is available. As soon as you do some changes, it will reload your code. So earlier student ID success it is saying, but that is wrong. We got 0. Student DO object created. Then during connection again we got exception null pointer. MySQL non-transient context could not create connection to database server. Attempt 3. Giving up. So it is basically unable to create connection. That's where I prefer to use Oracle. Let me do this. Build path, configure build path, remove MySQL, add Oracle. OJDBC 14. Yeah. Stop for some time. Let me change to Oracle properties. This version incompatibility I have. Unnecessary issues creating. Com dot Oracle driver we have to use. Oracle driver is part of Oracle.jdbc.driver. Oracle.jdbc.driver. Oracle.jdbc.driver.oracle driver. Okay. Coming to URL, is it correct? Anyone? JDBC colon Oracle colon thin colon @localhost colon 1521 exit. Okay. So again, this table is not there in Oracle, right? Let me create Oracle homepage. Do we have auto increment feature in Oracle? Auto generator. Oracle. Apart from sequence, no, nothing. Constant primary key, primary key. No. Okay. It's okay even if you don't have ID. Let's create. The data type is number here. See the difference. Name, use varchar 2 data type. Just a syntax change. Create table. Already table. Drop table, table name. Let's create it. So now table created and you can go to connect with Oracle. But ID I need to add. ID is not auto incremented, right? So let me do this step first. So I'll be getting ID. I will do ID plus plus means it will increment your ID. That on the first instance there is no ID in database. It will return 0. For first student it will do 0 plus plus 1. So that 1 I am inserting here. Insert your ID here. Bus. You are done. So now the same code, let's run. Let me see my luck. Success ID is 1. Is it? Student DO object created and one business object. Of course, your controller object also created. I have not added any constructor here, but one controller object also created. If you want to see, you can see. So who created this controller object? I have never loaded any classes into container. Okay. Business object I created myself. Inside business DO object I created myself. And only controller object I did not create it. Because controller is loading into Tomcat container. via this XML file. In web.xml file, I configured this controller. So who will take responsibility of it? Your Tomcat. Tomcat is also a container. So Tomcat will take care of this Tomcat server will take care of creating servlet object. From servlet onwards, we are creating objects manually. But Spring saying, don't do that. You did not need not to create them. But as soon as you have requirement to connect them, right? How you will connect? So now let me insert my data, insert, inserted and ID generated too. You can see it. Select the star from student. So we have two records here. So in MVC, in Spring, what we have done so far, we created simple POSO classes, but we did not connected them. In general, in servlets, when you want to connect them, right, one with another, my request from front end to it went to web. So here I have web to read logic I have. From here, when I want to exchange data, this data I am sending to business. Here I have business call. Just a minute, guys. So from here, I am sending it to business from controller. So here I established connection. So if you see here, here is the reference for business. Business reference I created. As soon as I have business reference, I can able to call. I created in class level, so any methods can call it. I may have one get method, post method here, so they can call it. As soon as it goes to business class, business should able to connect with the database via DAO. So DAO reference also I created here. Manually I am doing all this stuff. If you see here, inside business class or inside controller class, I am creating these references. But in Spring, what it is saying, you don't create it. You don't create any business object or you don't create any DAO object. I'll create it for you. Okay. If you create it for me, how you will pass it to me? We saw in our examples, we configured all our classes here. Here we have all our classes. Consider they are like your classes, controller, service, DAO classes. You configured them into XML file and you are creating object. In case if one class wants to talk with another class, here I have my account method. If this account method is like your controller method, from here I want to talk with next class. What to do? You are saying don't create object here. You are saying don't create that object here, like servlets. In servlets I created, but here you should not. Don't do that. Because already object created by container, why you should create it again? Whatever object is created, that you should able to use here. How you can use, how you can tell that to container I need so and so object, and how you will instruct container to provide that object to your class. That is what we are going to learn. Okay, in next step. For now, you understand, right? In basic servlets, how we implement this end-to-end operations. Easy. We will implement front end. From front end to we read it into controller. Once reading into controller, we create business object because there is no IOC container here to help us. You should carefully create objects here. Accidentally, instead of creating that object there, in method level itself, if you create unnecessarily for every user, it will create object. That's the reason. As I am careful, so I kept it here. If you are a junior guy, you may not able to think about it. Directly, you may put this object here. If you put this object here, every time when user request, For registration, it will create brand new object. In our case, when I put that reference here, right, it will not create. Only one time it will create. If I instantiate something on class level, one time only it will create. So I taken care of it. And DO also I'm creating here one time only. And connection also I'm creating one time only. Just to make sure single connection or single objects it will use. So it will not unnecessarily consume lot of memory. End of the day I have one controller, one business, one DO object only. Now let's see same application access. I'll give it to you. Please all play with it. Just register from your end. How I can give access to you? My local host I can expose. Let me expose my local host. My port number is 9090, right? Yeah. Now I'm giving one URL to you. Do this with this URL, okay? So as soon as you enter this URL, you will get this visit site. So click on visit site, you will get this form. From there, try to enter your data. Let me insert one more record before sharing it with you. Sai registered. Okay, Sai got ID 3. Fine. I'm sharing the same link. I can't use Postman. You also don't use Postman. Just use this link and send your data. I shared you link. All of you. Try to access that link from your phone or laptop, whichever device you connected, and enter your data. Back inside, I'll observe how many objects it is created. As of now, 3 objects only, and data wise, I'll see how many records got here. Are you guys able to access? For now, 3 records I entered until Sai. Others, are you guys trying? You able to access it? Oh, great. I got Ritik, Abhishek, Tushar records. Others, play with it. Okay. Manohar, Najia, Akash, 15. Deepak, Srikanth, Deepak 2 times. Nitesh. Yeah. Deepak entering all junk data. Okay. So if I see objects, right, still here, somebody created error also. Why? Oracle missing comma. Somebody tried something. Did you guys try some SQL injections? I don't know to whom this error they got. Maybe empty data they must submitted. But if you see, observe only 3 objects I created, not more than that. So properly I am utilizing my machine memory. I'm not created many objects. Same thing if you want to do it in Spring. I mean, web application I can't do as of now, but how do you connect them? The main important thing that you should observe is I implemented three backend classes: controller, business, DAO. How I am connecting them? I am creating physical object directly and connecting it. But during Spring, you should not do that. Okay, that we will see in next session. Okay, in Monday session we will see how I can deal the same scenario. If I have controller service DAOs, how I can deal with it, how I can get the next class object to send the information. Controller is sending data to business, so that business object I created here. But in Spring case, how we do that, we will see. Okay, that is what we will talk about in dependency injection. But to make you comfortable, what is dependency injection, why we need to get you that realization, I started with this first. Okay, otherwise don't confuse. If you don't know servlets also, it's fine. Servlets is not a big deal, simple thing. Create front end and write one servlet class. So this is how you can implement your do get or do post method and read data, and you can play from here. Okay, so that's it. We will see Monday dependency injection concept. Okay, are you all clear? Yeah. Hmm. Huh. Hmm. Hey, I don't want to go into that discussion. Okay, sorry about that. But let's have servlet discussion. Okay, we will have servlet discussion as I promised, right? We will we will have one servlet discussion. There we will talk about all these. Okay, why it is abstract, why no main method. Okay, but not at this context. I'm not. I don't want to go into the servlets and confuse everybody. Yeah, use ngrock software. Ngrock, download ngrock. So this will make your local host to server. Okay, download ngrock and run this simple command. Which command I used? ngrock http 9090. This is the command that I used. You see on the top right, ngrock space http space 9090. That's it. Download ngrock, open this command prompt, and give this command ngrock space http space which port number you are using. Give the port number. As soon as you enter this command, it will provide you one forward link. Use this link to share with your friends. Okay, okay, that's it. Not a big deal. But it have limitations. It can't keep your server for many days. Maybe after 1 week, this will expire again. You should shut down and you should restart. So that's the reason people will not use their local machines. Maybe they have licensed version of ngrok. There are some alternatives also for ngrok. You can search for them. Okay, if you are interested. So that's it, guys. I don't know how much you understand from this concept, but I just want to show you simple one end-to-end example. Going forward, when I talk, this is front end controller, back end business DAO. You should not confuse. If you refer this example, you should easily able to at least understand what I'm talking. Okay, no worries if you don't know servlets. Hmm. Go ahead. No, 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 no. So because Tomcat is responsible for servlet only, it will create only classes which are extended from HTTP servlet or generic servlet. See, that's where Spring is saying I will create objects for everybody's, but whereas Tomcat will create object for only controller, not for others. HTTP servlet. This is have a special flavor. So only this object only it will, it will create, like how our Indian government, recognized the citizens. Only few citizens during after independence they used to recognize. Thereafter, everybody got. Do you remember that story? They issued voter ID to only some class people. Later, they given ID to everybody. So similarly, only for Servlet only Tomcat will allow to create object. Only for Servlets Tomcat will create object, not for other classes. As I can't configure these classes in web.xml file and ask Tomcat, I am creating on my own. Whereas Spring will not do that. Spring will create objects for everybody. Not only object creation, wherever you need their references, that references also it will supply to you. As it is saying, I am creating object, don't worry, I'll give you that references as well. That is what dependency injection is all about. Okay. Yeah. I'll share this example. You guys can see this as well. Yeah. Go ahead. Yes. No, no. We should use during testing. That is required. While doing REST implementations, right? We should use Postman or Swagger. Otherwise, how we can test it? We need to test via Postman only if we don't have front end. Okay.